Hi there, Smart Drivers. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you tonight about your learner's test, getting your learner's permit so that you can practice to drive on the first stage of the license journey and getting your full license. Stick around. We'll be right back with that information. Hi there, Smart Drivers. Welcome back. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you tonight about your learner's license. And Ben is here. Ben is from Minnesota, and Ben got his license last week after an unsuccessful attempt and soldiered on, moved forward, did what he needed to do, and passed his driver's test. Congratulations to Ben on doing that. And no, Ben, that's not my angry face on the thumbnail there. It's actually my incredulous face that there's actually a test, so that's what you need to do. So Margaret's here from Brooklyn. How much snow do you have in Brooklyn? Is it kind of messy there, Margaret? And Katie is here as well. So we have a few people here in the week leading up to Christmas. It's Christmas on Friday, so everything for us is going to be a bit slow for us. But Ben says I have to wait till spring to get my car, though. Why do you have to wait for spring, Ben, to get your car? So, yeah, tonight I had a request from a Smart Driver a couple weeks ago, and don't know whether they're going to show up or not, but they can watch it on the replay if they're not here, how to do the learner's test, how to study for the learner's test, so we're definitely going to do that. And the other thing, house cleaning, I am doing a major revision of the website currently. And if you go over to the website and something's not working or there's a broken URL or whatnot, please send me an email. That would be extremely helpful to help me out and get that going, because to say it's a bit frustrating is an understatement. So, yes, that's what we're working on. Margaret, big gray mess of slush and piles of snow on the road. Yes, that is kind of gross. I know what you're talking about, Margaret. That slushy aftermath. Ben, your parents said no. That's unfortunate. Sorry to hear that, Ben. Tim is here from Winnipeg. Rocky is here. Good evening. My new teacher from Windsor, Ontario. And I understand, how is the lockdown going there in Windsor, Rocky? I understand that you're in complete lockdown there. Josephine, hello. Margaret said she had a driving lesson yesterday. The car got pelted with snowballs twice, and the instructor was so upset. Yeah, I suspect they were. And Penny, did you get roughed up again in jiu-jitsu? Yes, I did. I have some marks on my face here. This one in particular. That's from jiu-jitsu. Mad Trucker, looking at doing my class 2 highway license. Ridge seemed to cover me up to 7.5 to 18 tons. And Blessed is here. Derby's here. Pramod, hello everybody. Okay, so without further ado, we'll get over to the PowerPoint presentation. We'll get that over with. And then we'll come back and we'll answer any questions you might have. Here we go. There we go. Okay. So talking about learner's license tonight, the learner's test that you have to take to get your license so that you can get in the car with a mentor and work with a mentor to practice driving so that you can take your on-road test and then you can drive by yourself with conditions, because you're going to be part of the GDL program, the graduated driver's license, for those of you in the States. Here in Canada and other places, it's called the GLP, the Graduated Licensing Program. Of course, we have to be different for whatever reason. So that's what it is. So earning your license. All right, for those of you new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I was a truck driver through the 1990s. 1997, I wanted to come off the road. I just got tired of being a long-haul truck driver, so I got my driving instructor's license to teach tractor trailers. But I was certified. I wasn't licensed, and realized later that I had to go back and actually get my driving instructor's license. And so I did that. Became a licensed driving instructor in 1997. In 2000, I returned to school, finished my undergraduate degree, got accepted to the University of Melbourne, did a graduate degree there, which is essentially my PhD in legal history, which is the study of policing, courts, and prisons. My expertise, oddly enough, is in traffic as it relates to policing. Graduated in 2006, and while I was going to university in Australia, I drove coaches for Greyhound, so I have bus experience as well, and both local and regional buses, so I did all of that while I was going to university. This week, the new video up is pedestrians. How close can you be to pedestrians? Where do you need to wait for pedestrians? And on left-hand turns, do not charge pedestrians, because I will find you, I will hunt you down, and you will experience my wrath, because there's nothing I hate worse than being a pedestrian and cars doing left-hand turns driving right up to me at the crosswalk. Oh, that really upsets me. So if you want to know how close you can be to pedestrians for the purposes of a driver's test, have a look at that video. Yes, and I think I need to redo the thumbnail because it's not conveying the message that I want it to convey. All right, so the graduated licensing program, or the GDL, for your learner's permit, once you pass the test, which you have to have 80% to pass the test, that's the score you need. You will get a learner's license. You will be in a vehicle with a mentor. That means that somebody that has had experience, usually in the States it's over 21 years old, with a driver's license. Other places it's that they will have 4 years experience, and there will be 4 dots under the picture on the license. You have passenger restrictions, usually restricted to immediate family. Cell phone restrictions, you can't have any cell phones. There will be limitations on nighttime driving. Most of the time it's between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. that you can't drive. And in some places there will be restrictions on highways that you can drive on, that you cannot drive on certain highways. The night driving, I know last week I was looking at the state of Kentucky. If you are driving for work or school or other places, you can be out at night if you have those reasons for driving at night. But those are the restrictions on your learner's license. Most places will have 50 multiple choice questions, of which you have to get 80% to pass. These multiple choice questions will include right of way, signs, weather, attitude, situational questions. Sometimes they'll show you an image, or they'll show you a short video clip, and they will show you who has the right of way or what should be done in that situation. So essentially what they're doing is getting you to do situational awareness. Driving conditions, defensive driving, and all of those types of things will be asked on the theory test. So what I tell you to, all the questions, as I said, are multiple choice questions. They're computer based. It's very unlikely, unless you're in some very remote region, that you're going to be taking a paper based test. Most of them are going to be computer based. You'll have 4 choices. Sometimes there will be images. If it is computer based, you will be able to skip a question, and the question will go to the bottom of the queue. If you get 80% on the test, so for example, say you have 50 questions, you get the next 40 questions right, you won't see that question again. However, if you don't get the next 40 questions again, that question will come back up. In the interim, you may have had some time to think about it, and you can now answer it correctly, or you can skip a question 3 times before you absolutely have to answer it. This is usually the way that it works. Now, when you're answering multiple choice questions, be aware that you need to know what the terminology is. You need to know what painted islands are. You need to know what complex intersections are. You need to know what controlled intersections are and uncontrolled intersections. So this is the same process that you use for learning any new subject matter, that you are going to have to identify the terminology and get the terminology into your head, because this is fair game on a test. How do you learn the terminology? Practice driving test questions. Do not read the driver's handbook from cover to cover. These suckers are written by bureaucrats, and they are boring, because like CIA officers, bureaucrats who write driving manuals have had their sense of humor stripped away from them. It was a requirement of them getting hired, and they have no sense of humor. These driving manuals are incredibly boring and incredibly dry, and I'm not sure what's going on with the transition here, but I'll have a look. There, it's cleared up now. Okay, so practice driving test questions online. When you're getting 80 to 90% consistently, you are going to be ready to go and take the DMV test. But you have to be getting 80 to 90% consistently. Okay? Use the online practice test to identify gaps in your knowledge. So for example, if you're not very clear about right of way, then you go back to the driving manual, and that's the section of the driving manual that you look up. Make sure that you read only the section manuals you don't know. Don't read the book cover to cover 15 times. Oh my God, that just sounds very painful. I mean, go and eat a bucket full of sawdust. It's about that exciting. Don't read it cover to cover. That's just terrible. Okay, I mean, unless you have insomnia, then use it to cure your insomnia. But otherwise, don't do that. Okay? Go through the text. use the table of contents, use the index in the back to look up the different parts of the manual that you need to look up, and just work on those sections, okay? Go through the chapter that you need to do. For example, if you're looking at right-of-way, go through the subheadings and ask questions of the subheadings. If it says the stopping positions at a stop-signed intersection, say to yours, write down in the book and say, what are the stopping positions? And then go through the section and identify the different stopping positions that you have to memorize for the purposes of preparing for your driver's test, okay? And don't do it online, okay? I would really encourage you and counsel you to go and get a physical hard copy of the manual. That way you can take a pen, take a pencil, you can write in the margins when you're studying for your test, because the physical act of actually writing something down puts it in our brain. There's some transfer of knowledge from the page into our brain. So make sure that you're writing notes in the margins, and then after you're done, go back to your notebook and then actually write it in your notebook. Better yet, what I'm going to tell you here to do is identify keywords, terminology, read all the options when you're taking the test, and then the first two options of the four possible options of the test can usually be eliminated really quickly. The final thing that you need to do is make up flashcards. Just go down and get some of those 3x5 index cards from any stationery store. Write a question on the front, right of way at yield signs, and then put on bullet points 3 points on the back. Make up your own flashcards and then carry your flashcards around with you like you would your cellular phone. That way you're going to have time. Anytime you're standing in a queue at the bank, at the grocery store, waiting for something, for example, I do Duolingo, and I do the little French things every day. My kids go into the library for 10 minutes and I sit there and do a little lesson on French. So this is the same thing with your flashcards. You can do them and take them with you. Now, yes, I know that there are apps and those types of things that lots of different websites have and whatnot, and you can have that as well. But it's better when you write them down, you make up your own flashcards, and that way, again, there's the transference of you writing it out to it going in your head, and you're going to be better prepared and better able to understand the questions that they potentially could ask you on the knowledge test when you go into the DMV center. I'll make one more point, but I'll just finish this up. All right, so good luck on your knowledge test. If anybody has any questions about writing the learner's test, question and answer, we'll spend the remainder of the time here doing that. So good luck on your test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. All right, so getting back here, transition, and we're back. All right, so Genuine, it was the second time I took it the same day. Okay, so sometimes you can take it the same day, but most of the time, if you are unsuccessful on your knowledge test, this is a good point that Flavored made here, you usually have to wait 24 hours. So you usually have to go back away and then come back the next day. And I know here in British Columbia, it's $15. So if you fail the test, you have to come back and you have to spend another $15. So that's the thing is, you don't want to spend a whole bunch of money, right? Okay. So I scored a 45 out of 50 for my learner's permit when I first took it back in February. Okay, excellent. And Margaret, on the permit test here in New York, there was a trick question about alcohol, comparing alcohol content of different types of liquor, which I probably got wrong. Test was given on a computer monitor. So about comparing alcohol content of different types of liquor. Yes, they're very, they like that question, Margaret, about one shot of whiskey or hard liquor, spirits, and then one glass of wine, and then one glass of beer. And, of course, the wine glass is a different shape than the beer, and the beer is really big, and then the little shot of whiskey is a little tiny thing, and they're asking you, are these all the same content? They're very much in favor, and that's very much standard fare for questions on drink driving. So, they know that they all have the same impact. So that's what they're going to do in terms of drink driving questions. And so they're going to, drink driving is a major problem amongst drivers that, it's still something that we're dealing with. We're still battling with, trying to curtail. It's right up there with distracted driving. So this is why these questions are on the learner's permit test. Okay. Colin, my friend, how are you? Busy. Okay, Mad Trucker, got to go. 8 a.m. start. Take care and hope all the have a great Christmas. And you as well, my friend, as well. And safe travels. Keep it between the roads and the rubber side down. There you go. Okay. And all right. Margaret, it was something like, which one of these statements about alcohol is true? And I got confused about alcohol content. I don't drink and know nothing about alcohol. Yeah, there isn't a lot you need to know, Margaret, about drinking and driving, which is, I mean, really the only thing you really should know is that basically you can have one drink and then drive, and that's all. If you have more than that, you really shouldn't be driving. You should be taking a taxi and those types of things. And, you know, for the smart drivers out there that are watching and you're watching on the replay or whatnot, the thing that you need to know about alcohol, especially with the holiday season right now and the fact that we're all on lockdown because of the pandemic, the thing that I need to say to you is to make decisions before you start driving. Make decisions before you start drinking, because we do not make good decisions after we've already started drinking. So make those decisions. How am I going to get home? Do I have a designated driver? Am I going to drink and my partner isn't going to drink and they're going to drive home? Or, you know, are we going to take an Uber? Are we going to, you know, we're going to stay over? Those types of things. Well, you know, with the pandemic right now, we're probably not socializing and we're probably not going out and driving and we're probably not staying over at somebody's house. So you have to make all of these decisions before you start drinking. And of course, this is going to happen as we, you know, as hopefully as this begins to go back to normal. At least we're hoping with the vaccine coming in that all of this is going to go back to normal. So that's basically drinking and driving. And here, you know, I've talked to people before, people that have been found not guilty on a drink driving charge, and even if they're found not guilty, it's still $8,000 for their defense to hire a lawyer and to be found not guilty for drink driving. So $8,000. I think to myself, how many cabs can you take for $8,000? You know, not to mention the hassle, the stress, the worry, losing your license, because in the interim of, you know, being arraigned for trial, you don't have a license. They've taken it away from you. And I don't know how many other places and jurisdictions are going to follow suit with the drink driving, but here in British Columbia, because they've been unsuccessful with the drink driving charges in court, they've increased police powers. Police have the power to take your license away on the side of the road. And actually, Tim would know more about this, but Tim's not here with DriveSmart BC, but he's got a lot of information over on his website, so have a look at that. So basically what I'm saying to you is it's not worth the risk. Even if you're not convicted, you still lose your license. You still spend a tremendous amount of money fighting a drink driving charge. So just think about that and think, you know, maybe a $50 cab ride isn't that expensive in the big scope of things, you know, if you decide that you're going to drink and drive, okay? So Colin, you're studying for your flight test. That's awesome. Anwar, driving is not a right, it is a privilege. Yes, you're right. Okay. Ben, I will never drink and drive. I take meds and that would be affected too. Yes. Anwar, I'm going to take the vaccine. I'm not going to answer that question. Katie, has anyone been... I took mine on computer and it was timed. Okay. How much time did they allow you to take the test, Katie? Because I've never heard of a driving test being timed before. That's a new one. Okay. Ben, we're getting a vaccine at my work because I work in nursing home. I know that they will require my job being mandatory. Yes. So a lot of people, in terms of the vaccine, the COVID vaccine, those that work in nursing homes, work in healthcare, work on the front lines, those are the people that are going to be vaccinated first. The ones that are at risk. So I'm probably very, very far down the list of people who are eligible to have the vaccine. Okay. So Ben, you got your license on the third try, so that's really awesome. You kept going. That's really good. Okay, excellent. Caden, hey Rick, I just passed my driver's test earlier this month. Your videos helped me so much, and I really appreciate all the effort you put into them. Went and celebrated at a friend's. Merry Christmas, and Merry Christmas to you as well, Caden. Thank you so much for dropping by and letting us know that you did, in fact, pass your driver's test. That's really great. Tyson, I hope my G2 doesn't get canceled. Tyson, where are you in Ontario that you are thinking that it might get canceled? Muhammad, okay, pump gas in Canada, first time here. I'll look that up for you. Just, we have a video. There's a video here on the channel. Where is that video? I'm trying to think. I will be right back. There we go. There's the video for pumping gas right there. There's the link, Caden. No, Mohammed, you asked for that. So there we go. Prahamid, thank you very much, Rick. Your videos, for your videos, I passed my road test on the first attempt. Pandy, that's awesome. Congratulations on passing your driver's test. Brilliant. And Mohammed, you passed your test as well. And Majid, I don't know whether I'm saying that right. You have your G test on Wednesday. Good luck on that. You're going to do great. Arun, hey, was up. Just came to say Happy Christmas, Rick. And everyone here, keep watching the videos, guys. Before road test, you will pass as long as you drive well. Yes, you will. Totally. That's awesome. Ben, I wouldn't have passed my third time without your videos on YouTube, and I started all my road training on my own from beginning to end. That's awesome, Ben. Congratulations. Flavored, I'll be ready next month for my road test in January. Excellent. And Flavored, where are you taking your test in the world? Ben, good luck with that. Flavored, once you pass, it'll feel great. Yes, it does. Tyson, you're in Belleville. And the 16th of February, they said tomorrow it's going to be on lockdown for a couple of days, so hopefully it doesn't last. Yeah, Tyson, we're really hoping that it doesn't last, that's for sure. More shipments of the vaccine. I'm really hoping that, that it makes it inroads into all of this and that this starts to be clawed back, because I really don't like giving up my civil liberties for any of this. Okay? Yes, driving is very freeing. It is a profound sense of accomplishment for sure, getting your driver's license and earning your driver's license, because there's just so many great things you can do. I mean, especially if you live in a town that does not have really good public transit. I mean, it's different if you live in the large metropolitan cities and places like that. But, if you move or whatnot, then you definitely need to drive. And, even for some of your, if you're working in jobs and things like that, you're going to need a driver's license to be able to get to work. If you're working in construction, you're going to have to get around to different construction sites and those types of things. So having a driver's license really opens up all kinds of doors for you in terms of employment, going to school, and a sense of empowerment. And, driving is just awesome anyway. I mean, I've spent my whole life driving, teaching other people how to drive and those types of things. So it's been really, really awesome. So I really encourage you, doesn't matter where you are in the world or how old you are, go and get your driver's license. Okay? Ivan, I just need to get better at maintaining my speed, and I should be able to be successful at passing my driver's test on first attempt. Yes, Ivan, that's really great, and definitely have a look at the video. It's called How to Control the Gas Pedal and Your Speed in the Vehicle, and that will really help you out. Okay? Katie, they gave me 5 minutes to take the test, and the computer was having problems. I barely made it before running out of time. 5 minutes? Okay, Katie, that something doesn't sound right there. 5 minutes. Katie, I've never heard of that, because usually there isn't any there isn't a time limit on how long you can spend to do the learner's test. That's been my experience anyway. I have never heard of a time limit on a learner's permit test before. Okay, so Margaret said that the road test is 10 minutes. Yes, and that totally tracks with the on-road driving test, that it's not very long. But on the other hand, for the learner's permit, when you're taking the test on the computer, there's no time limit. At least I've never heard of a time limit. And maybe some of the smart drivers here tonight or other smart drivers could let me know if they've ever experienced a time limit on their learner's permit. Okay. Okay, so Ben says he wanted his driver's license so he could do things on his own and not rely on other people. Arun, hey Rick, what's your suggestion to start driving truck? First time, should I go for class 3 or class 1 in Alberta? Okay, Arun, that's an excellent question. And if you have the resources, Arun, or you can beg, borrow, and steal the money to take a class 1 license, I would strongly encourage you to take a class 1 license. And the reason for that is you are much more employable as a class 1 driver than you are as a class 3 license. Very few companies will have just class 3 licenses. Most of the time it's going to be class 1 tractor trailer. And even if they do have a bunch of straight trucks in their yard and they're class 3s, they're still going to hire tractor trailer licenses, because if somebody calls in sick, they just want to be able to start at the top of the list and go down until they find somebody, a replacement that can come in for the day. And if you only have a class 3 license and the person that was sick is a class 1 driver, well, they really don't want to do that, because that's going to be a pain in the butt. So if you have the time, if you have the resources, go and get your class 1 license. And the other thing is if the first job that you have doesn't work out, which usually it doesn't when you get your class 1 license, you can simply walk across the road to the next trucking company and get another job. Whereas if you have a class 3 license, it's going to be a lot harder. I mean, unless you want to pitch garbage or something like that, then you can go and work for the garbage truck company or the recycling company. You can go and do that. But I would really strongly suggest that you get your class 1 license. And the other thing is that you're going to make more money as a class 1 licensed driver as you will as a class 3 license. So the return on investment is really high. And the other thing is that the difference between class 3 and class 1 in terms of learning is only about 20%. There's only about 20% more stuff that you have to know with a class 1 license as opposed to a class 3 license. So really, really work to get your class 1. Unless everything falls apart and you just can't get your class 1, then go for a class 3. But I would really encourage you to work for your class 1 first as opposed to your class 3. Okay? Margaret says there was no time limit when she took her permit last month, and she said she finished in 6 minutes. So there you go. Krista, I already have my driver's license, but I will be buying your course to drive better. That's awesome, Krista. And if we can help you in any way or you have any questions at all, drop us a note. We're always willing to and happy to help out. Okay, so that'd be really great. Katie, how are you supposed to take a test in 5 minutes? Katie, I absolutely don't know, and I don't know why they would give you that information. I'm a little bit bewildered about why they would give you 5 minutes. You can't even get sat down at the computer in that amount of time. Okay. Arun, hey Rick, what's your suggestion? Okay, so I already answered that question. Awesome. Kyle, did my test last week. They closed down the registry I was originally booked for and put mine in Edmonton. Never driven it before and passed. Lots of help from your videos. That is absolutely awesome, Kaylee. And yeah, congratulations on getting your license. Where'd you go to celebrate? That's really, really awesome. Rocky, I think about eating and driving that I won't be doing. I also say typically a no is a no. It's also extremely dangerous. I mean, I will never eat and drive. True or false? Rocky, excuse me. I was having this conversation with a customer of mine the other day about distractions in the vehicle, and no doubt eating can be a distraction. Okay, if you're eating a big sloppy hamburger in the car, that's a distraction. If you're eating a carrot, not so much a distraction. So it depends on a lot of things. And you can have a beverage in the car and it's not a distraction. You can drink your beverage, right, while you're driving. There's some things that I think that you can do, and I think there's some things that you can't do. Now, of course, this is going to depend on your level of driving experience. It's going to depend on your level of comfort when you're driving. For some people, they're not going to be able to eat. They're not going to be able to have a beverage. They're not going to be able to have a conversation with somebody else in the vehicle while they're driving. And so, it's gonna there's a level of discretion on your part about whether you feel comfortable doing those things in the vehicle. Now, obviously, there are some serious distractions. Talking on your cell phone, don't do that. Don't watch a video while you're driving up and down the road, because I've seen people do that. And not only are they watching a video as they're going up and down the road, but they're videoing it on their phone and putting it on YouTube. So, that craziness happens as well. So, it's really going to depend on your own level of comfort, your own discretion, and your own feelings about it. So maybe you can, eat a sandwich while you're driving down the road. If you're driving down the highway or those types of things, that's a possibility. But again, figure, there's no hard answers for these. But it's really going to depend on yourself and your ability to drive and your comfort level and those types of things. And as Margaret says, yes, please don't throw rubbish out the window while you're driving. That creates problems for other traffic on the roadway. Ben, you had a pizza party to celebrate your passing your driver's test on Friday. Awesome. Majid, is there any chance of road tests getting canceled around Christmas time? Majid, I haven't heard of any cancellations as of yet, but I have heard that there have been DMVs that are closed down because of the pandemic again. So we are going into lockdown again, unfortunately. Flavored, I'm interested in getting a motorcycle endorsement once I have my official Class E license and familiarize myself with the road. And yes, that's something that you can do, and definitely get your motorcycle license. And if you do, we'll put some practice driving test questions up for you. Just let us know where you are in the world, which state or where you are in the world, and we'll definitely help you out with that. Rocky, I see. Thank you so much, Rick. I see what you mean now. Thank you. Okay, Katie, they said it wasn't supposed to be timed, but I called ahead of time. The person who assigned the computer gave me 5 minutes. Oh. Katie, I would maybe suggest to you that you go back to the DMV and talk to the manager and see what the manager might do about that, because at minimum, you shouldn't have had to pay a fee, and you shouldn't definitely have to pay a fee again. You wouldn't want to have to pay another fee to take the knowledge test, to take your learner's permit test. Okay? Kaylee, went about 100 kilometers to get home. That was my celebration. Yeah, sometimes just driving around is the best feeling after you get your driver's license, just going for a drive. And that's definitely what I say to smart drivers all the time. Just go for a drive. Just go and do what you need to do to celebrate that and just feeling that sense of freedom, because it's just really awesome. Katie, I can have a beverage while driving. It's just trying to keep up a conversation with someone in the car with me. That is difficult, and eating hamburger while driving is also difficult. Yeah, Katie, I would even find, unless it's one of those squishy, hard-packed McDonald's hamburgers. But, if it was a big, then, you can't really do that while you're driving. But having a coffee in the car, I can, do that and whatnot. And if, I do suggest to people that, you're going to eat and drink if you're on a long road trip. But if you're on a long road trip, usually you're not by yourself, okay? If you're on a long road trip, you're usually with somebody else, and you can assign that task of them getting food and those types of things for you while you're driving, and that really will, cut down on the distraction and those types of things. Flavored, I had to spend $60 in one day for my learners. It's worth it at the end of the day. Yes, having a license, getting a car, insurance and maintenance and all of those things, it costs money. These things aren't cheap. And on average, the average cost of having a car, maintaining a car, putting fuel in it, getting your license, maintaining your license, and all of those things, it's about $4,000, $5,000 a year, depending on where you live, what kind of a vehicle you have, and those types of things. And then again, the cost of insurance, especially for new drivers, is very expensive. And, you know, we can blame some court judge some years ago who awarded, I think it was some crazy amount of money, $180 million for a payout on an insurance claim. Well, unfortunately, since then, insurance premiums have gone through the roof, and for young people, it's just incredibly expensive. Okay. Josie, thanks for helping me build my confidence and for all your helpful tips. I got my driver's license in August, and I now drive like a pro in Maryland. Thank you for your consistency and help, and you are most welcome, Josie. Thank you for stopping back and letting us know, and all the best there in Maryland. That is really, really awesome that we were able to help you out. Flavored in Florida, $48 fee plus the $100 or plus the $10 retest. Yes. So it's kind of expensive there in Florida initially, $48. It's only $15 here in British Columbia to take the learner's test, so it's a little bit less money there. Margaret, how much did it cost for you to take your learner's permit there in the state of New York? Okay. Ben, I'm always trying to keep both hands on my wheel at all times, so I'm ready for anything that could happen on the road. Yeah, Ben, that's one thing you can do, but the better thing to be doing when you're driving is looking farther down the road and scanning the intersections and those types of things. And the customer that I was talking to the other day has a large trucking company, and we're working on identifying hazards at intersections. So working on that right now and trying to figure out how to reduce crashes at intersections with this trucking company. Margaret, if you get your license but don't buy a car for a couple of years, are you still considered a new driver? Yes, Margaret. I'm not exactly sure how your insurance works there in the state of New York, but here in British Columbia, unfortunately, part of what it has to do is how long you've held your driver's license, and the other, you know, I've heard this condition has gone away, but I'm not exactly sure. You had to prove how long you had car insurance, which is just terrible because, I mean, why does that matter? Doesn't it matter how many crashes I've had and how many speeding tickets I've had as opposed to how long I've had car insurance? For me, my car insurance was exorbitant because I left the country and moved to Australia for 7 years, and I came back and I hadn't had a car in that period of time. The whole time I was in Australia, I rode my bicycle or took public transit and didn't have a car. And then when I came back to Canada, even though I was a driving instructor teaching people how to drive tractor trailers, I was still classified as a brand new driver. And my insurance was so expensive, I had to put the vehicle in somebody else's name because I couldn't afford the insurance because it was just so terribly expensive. Okay. Abhi, can you make some videos on Class 1 driving tests? Yes, that is the plan for the new year, is to make Class 1 driving videos, and that's what we're going to be working on then. Margaret, so the learner's test in New York City in Brooklyn was $120. Was that for both tests, or was that just for the learner's permit? Because that's really high. Dimitri, do you think you could make a video about buying your first car as a teen and insurance as well? Dimitri, I can. Are you looking at buying a second-hand vehicle, Dimitri? Okay. Jolly, in Ohio, it's free to take the learner's permit. It just costs you to pay for the license. Okay, so you just have to pay for the administration of the license. And what do they charge you, Jolly, for the administration of the license there in the Buckeye? Katie, I passed with some good luck. Awesome. I just mean that I'm paying attention to what's ahead of me, and that's really great. Epic. Some schools here in the U.S. offer driver education on your sophomore year high school. If you have to do it individually, have to use a website that has the state or provincial written test. Use the book. Okay, excellent. Ben, I've been driving over a year and had no traffic violations on my learner's permit for the whole time that I was learning to drive. And that's definitely what you want to do, because you want to get through the probationary stage of your GDL and, you know, get into the full license, because any violations, any moving violations that you get or speeding tickets, you have to start that probationary period over again, and you really don't want to have to start that year or 180 days or however long it is that you're in that probationary stage. You don't want to have to do that. Okay. Margaret, the cost included the license fee. They charge you for both at the same time. That was in Peekskill, Westchester County. Okay. Okay, so Jolly, $25 for the license, I think, for the learner's license. Okay, so there's different costs associated with getting your learner's license, different costs associated with taking the on-road test and those types of things. And it sounds like it's more or less the same amount of money across the board. It just how they charge you at what point. So for example, Margaret's in Brooklyn, and for the learner's test she had to pay for the 120, but that's also the on-road test at the same time. And then in Ohio, it's $25 for the administration of the learner's fee, but they've in that as well, they've got you taking the test. So here in British Columbia where I live, they'll charge you $15 for the test, and then they'll charge you for the administration. So it's the same thing. You go in and take your on-road test, it's $50 for the test, and then they come back and then it's another $50 or $70 or whatever it is for the administration of the license. So just know that by the time you get done with your license, it's going to cost you about $150, $200 all in. Okay? Katie, that sounds about right. I live in Ohio as well. Awesome. Tyson, how much did you pay if you fail your G2 the first time? So it's oftentimes G2. Okay, so yeah, if the road test is usually about $50 for the road test, and if you fail the driver's test, there's no administration cost because they're just going to say you failed. And then when you come in and take the test again, usually it's another $50 to take the on-road test. So they're going to charge you again for the on-road test, but they're not going to charge you the administration fees for administering your license and giving you your license and those types of things. Okay. Alpha, best training school for Class 1 in Kelowna or Vernon. Any recommendations? Alpha, you don't have a lot of choice here in Vernon and Kelowna. There's one, I think White Line Driving School is here, and then the other one is Taylor. And if they say it's Taylor or it's professional driver training, extreme professional driver training, and Taylor are the same school. Okay, so it doesn't one or the other. So you have two choices. You have White Line or you have Taylor / Extreme Pro, which are the two driving schools here. So there's not a lot of choice here. It's one or the other. Okay. Epic for New Jersey. It's $10 for a written test, but there's no fee for a road test for car and motorcycle. But for commercial licenses, there are fees for both road test and written. Videos are helpful for all. Okay, excellent. Ben, my third time for the road test was $22, and when I passed in Minnesota, it was $32 for the administration. Excellent. Katie, they didn't charge me for taking the learner's test, which was between $5 and $10. Okay. Yeah, 25 years old when driving insurance starts to go down. And Jolly, I mean, don't get too excited about your insurance. When I went to renew my insurance again this year, of course, our insurance company here, it's mandated by the government, or it's run by the government, rather. I asked the woman at the counter, and I am still in the 70 percentile of drivers. So I'm really kind of in the middle of the pack when it comes to drivers. And, I said to them, listen, I'm a licensed driving instructor. Didn't matter in the least. So, it just drives me crazy. Katie, they were rude because I accidentally dropped my birth certificate, and then because the computer was acting up. So they were frustrated and took it out on you. That's really unfortunate, Katie. Mohammed, do we get a ticket if we drive 20 kilometers an hour over the posted speed limit? Yes, Mohammed, if you get caught, you will get a ticket for driving 20 kilometers an hour over the speed limit for sure. You may even get a speeding ticket for driving 10 kilometers an hour over the posted speed limit. So don't do that either. Okay. Ben, I don't know. You would have to talk to an insurance agent about what the cost of insurance is going to be for you when you go and get your first vehicle there. So some tips for buying a used vehicle. Somebody asked me about that. I forget who it was, but just remind me. So one of the things that I often recommend when you're buying a used vehicle is if you find a vehicle that you want, take it to an independent mechanic and get them to do an inspection on it. It's going to cost you about $100, but it's money really well spent. and know that dealerships, yes, they're going to say that they did this and that, and they did a pre-trip inspection and whatnot, but that's just not guaranteed. I really encourage you, if you're going to look for a secondhand vehicle, to take it to an independent mechanic. The other thing is look at the pre-trip inspection video here on the channel for, before you go down for your driving test, and do that pre-trip inspection. And I'll tell you about a vehicle I looked at about a year ago now. It was a secondhand vehicle, and I was looking at it for a friend of mine, and I was doing the inspection on it, and took it for a drive, and it was still a bit icy and snowy, and I hit the brakes and slid right out onto the road, and I was like, oh, well, that's kind of interesting. And then I came back after I took it for a drive and put my hand on the tires, and of course the tires are completely bald. But bald tires aren't a big deal, because the cost, new tires is a known cost, right? And so this is the other thing you need to figure out. So if you look at a secondhand vehicle and it's got a big crack in the windshield, you're like, that's $500. Okay? To replace a windshield in a car is $500. It's a known cost. It's not something that could be variable. So I knew that the car needed tires on it, and the tires, a set of tires will run you $750 to $1,000. So you know that. And that's a negotiation tactic when you're negotiating for the price of the vehicle. Because when you buy a secondhand vehicle, the price is always negotiable. It's not the price that they want. So if I want to sell a car and I know that I absolutely want $4,000 for that car, I'm going to put $5,000 on that car when I sell it. And then I'm going to negotiate with you, and I'm going to get the $4,000 that I want for it. So know that if the windshield's cracked, then you say to the person who's selling the car and say they want $3,500 for it. You say, listen, I'll give you $2,800 for it because the windshield's cracked and I need to get that replaced. So that's the one thing. Tires, same thing. You can take $1,000 off the price and say, listen, I need to put new tires on this. That's $1,000. So instead of giving you $5,000, I'll offer you $3,800, right? The other thing was with the car, I checked the reverse lights on it. Okay, so make sure that you check all the lights on the vehicle, including the reverse lights. And as soon as I found out the reverse lights weren't working, I walked away from the car. I said to the guy, I said, listen, the reverse lights aren't working. I said, you'll have to get those fixed. Because the thing that's different between a cracked windshield and tires on reverse lights is that that's not a known cost. That's not something you know how much is going to cost to get fixed, because it could be something as simple as a fuse blown to a short in the electrical system somewhere. And if there's a short in the electrical system somewhere, 2 days in the auto shop with them trying to find out where the short is, and could cost you a small fortune, a couple $1,000. It could be anywhere from $2 for a fuse to $2,000. So you don't know how much reverse lights not working on your vehicle is going to cost you. So this is the thing about used vehicles. And the other thing is, all used vehicles will tell you a story. And if you go into a dealership and you're looking at a car and you kind of like it, and you go back in and the salesperson says to you, oh, it's been in 2 minor crashes. If a vehicle's been in 2 minor crashes, walk away from it. Just walk away from it, because when it's been in a minor crash, that tells you that the previous owner didn't care about it. So don't buy it. Okay? So there's little things about cars that yes, you can deal with, and yes, you can fix in terms of a secondhand vehicle. But the other thing is that there's some things that you just don't want to tolerate. And I will tell you, with a bit of savvy in terms of buying a secondhand vehicle, you can get a lot more vehicle for a lot less money than if you go and buy a new vehicle. So I always encourage smart drivers to buy secondhand vehicles. I personally would always buy a secondhand vehicle because I know I'm going to get a lot more car for a lot less money than if I go and buy a new one. Okay, so that's really what I encourage you to do. With insurance, if you can, as a new driver, buy your vehicle outright and then just put PL and PD on it. So PL is public liability and property damage. Once you can put fire and theft on it. That's not too expensive. But once you put collision on it, collision is if you go out and drive your car into a tree and smack it up, insurance will fix it, but your insurance is twice as much. As soon as you put collision insurance on a vehicle, the cost of your insurance is twice as much. And if you've taken financing out on a vehicle, you automatically have to put collision on it because the finance company wants to protect their investment. So you have to put collision on it. So to reduce significantly the cost of your insurance on a car, buy a secondhand vehicle outright and then just put PL and PD on it, and then that will significantly reduce the cost of your vehicle. Okay, so those are some quick tips about buying a secondhand vehicle and getting less, less your insurance, not as expensive. Okay. Tyson, my grandfather is 80 years old and pays $95 a month for insurance for 2 vehicles. Is that a good deal? Tyson, that's an unreal amount of money for insurance. That's just unheard of. Singh, my CDL permit expired twice. First time due to pandemic. Second one getting ready for a test. Failed road test. Do you think I can get an extension if I talk to the DMV in New York? I don't know. You would have to talk to the DMV in New York and see what they say to you about that, okay? But it doesn't, you got to ask, right? Otherwise, you don't know. No. 2 weeks training. Okay, excellent. Okay. Ben, thanks for the advice, Rick. I have friends that know cars really well. Is that a better way to go for me, Rick? Definitely, Ben. If you know somebody that knows something about cars, knows how to barter, because the other thing is you got to barter, right? And you got to figure out where your levers are in terms of bartering. Another thing that I did years ago, I bought a car for a friend of mine, went down and looked at it, and it was a single mom with 3 kids that had the car, and they're like, oh, it's a single mom, it's it's an awesome car, and blah, 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 and they'd done the detailing on it, and of course, I got in there and started doing the pre-trip inspection, and I pulled the back seat down. In behind the back seat is a rubbish bin of garbage. And I'm like, well, you didn't detail very well. And obviously, the person who was driving this car didn't treat it very well because there was half a bin of rubbish in behind the back seat. So, if you can get the seats down, pull the seats down, look under the seats, look in the glove box, look in the, look everywhere in the car, go in the trunk if it's a car and it has a trunk, pull the bottom of the thing up, look in where the spare tire is, see if there's any garbage that they've missed, because basically I was able to get $700 off the price of that car because of the amount of garbage in it. And I said, listen, this person didn't take care of this vehicle. I said, look at all of the garbage in here. So you got to figure out things that are wrong with the car, because if you can find out things that are wrong with the car, these are your bargaining points. Okay, these are where you can get a reduction in the cost of the car. And also know that if they're not going to give you any money off the car, then just walk away. Just walk away. Same friend went in, looked at a Toyota Corolla, beige on beige. Of course, don't let friends drive beige on beige cars. And we walked in. I think they wanted like $12,800 for it. And I said, I'll give you $9,000 for it. And he's like, oh, I got to go and talk to the manager, because they do that whole thing with the salespeople, right? You go in, you do your little negotiation, you tell them how much you're willing to pay, and then the salesperson goes out and says, oh, I got to talk to the manager, and they go out. And as soon as he walked out, I was with my wife and my friend, and I said, he's not going to take it, we're just going to leave. And he come back and he's like, oh, we can't take it, we can take this much. I said, no, thanks very much for your time, bye. And walk away, because know that you can get the car that you want. It's just going to take you a little time to do the work to find the car that you want. Okay? Margaret, so don't buy a used car on eBay. Margaret, I would really strongly, if you do buy a car on eBay, you can, but make sure that if you buy a car on eBay that you use an escrow account, that the money goes into an escrow account. They hold the money. You get the car. You do an inspection on the car and make sure that the car that you got is what was advertised, and that you're happy with it. And then after you say, okay, yes, I have the car that I want, then eBay or the escrow, the person who's in charge of the escrow, releases the money. So yes, you can buy a car on eBay, but make sure that the money goes into an escrow account, that you don't just send it off to the seller, okay? Arun, time is running out. I guess I'll say safe and okay. Good night. Awesome, Jolly. Why doesn't the driver's test include driving on the freeway? Jolly, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It's very unlikely that on a driving test they're actually going to take you out on the interstate unless it's close to the driving test center, which usually it's not. Okay. All right. Ben, thanks for the advice, Rick. I have friends. Okay, so we talked about that. DC, here in Ontario, you also need to get a used vehicle information package to register the car. So you might want to ask the buyer for it or buy one yourself. It has the info you should know before buying. Yes, give you a vehicle history and those types of things. So that's another thing that you definitely want to look at before you purchase a vehicle. Ben, last important, I can ask you, when can I start test driving cars, Rick? Ben, as long as you have a license, you can start test driving now. There's no reason why you can't start test driving vehicles. Yeah, okay. So also, Scotty Kilmer, other YouTube channels out there. I really like Scotty. He's got a lot of really great information about purchasing vehicles and mechanics and those types of things. Okay. Dimitri, what do you think of diesels in the States? So Dimitri, are you talking about big diesels like pickup trucks, or are you talking like a Volkswagen Jetta? I'm actually a fan of diesel engines. I mean, the Volkswagen Jetta, a few years ago, I think it was about 5 years ago, was running like 60 miles to the gallon. You know, I really don't understand why more vehicles aren't diesel. It doesn't make any sense to me, especially with, you know, if you have a manual car with a diesel engine in it, these things get just phenomenal fuel economy. But, you know, the other thing about it is that some of these colder climates, you know, I mean, you got to plug them in and have glow plugs and those types of things. So, you know, it's just not economical, I guess, from whatever standpoint of manufacturing these things, but it doesn't make any sense to me. It seems that diesels really are the way to go in terms of economy and whatnot. Majid, your advice is always great. Thank you so much. Okay, so Ben, have a good night. You as well, my friend. Happy holidays, and happy holidays to everyone else. And I guess we're all done here. We'll wrap it up. Okay, you want to come in? You're going to do it. Say hi.
Hi.
Okay, so what are we doing? What's next week?
Christmas.
Yes, so you're going to wish everybody happy holidays?
Happy holidays and Merry Christmas.
And Merry Christmas, and we're not in school anymore.
I get to sleep in.
There you go. You get to sleep in. All right. So that's it?
Turtle.
Yeah, okay. So wish everybody happy holidays. All the
Happy
best.
holidays and Merry
Happy
Christmas.
holidays.
Okay. What else do we say? And remember?
Remember, pick the best answer. Now let's share the right answer.
Have a great day. Bye now.
And if you passed your driver's test in the last couple of weeks, congratulations on that. That's awesome. And if you have a test coming up in the next week or so, good luck on that. And have a happy holiday and all the best. Bye now.